Hello, guys. My name is Durgesh Bailoor, and I introduce myself as a fiction writer, avid world traveler, and a professor in the medical college. I specialize in dentistry and more specifically in a branch called as oral medicine and radiology, which also specializes in forensic odontology. Now, let me come straight to the two books which I want to introduce today to you. This first book is called as The Dental Mental Mystery. The Tooth Digs Up the Truth. This book has been published by Notion Press in Chennai. I hold all the rights for this book, and this also has been identified as one of the books in Fiction Sutra. The second book which I would like to talk today about is called as The Killer Medicine. This Killer Medicine is a book which uh, is the volume 2 of the story, and this focuses on the manufacture of duplicate drugs, or what we call as spurious medicines. Now let me start my narration with this book, the story of this tooth digs up the truth. Now, this story is based in city of Mangalore, and the main characters of the story are a doctor who specializes in forensic dentistry, a DSP of police. Her name is Seema, and there is a couple in which the wife of the couple, the wife Alicia, is the main arch villainess. She's a person who is very criminal minded, and she thinks nothing of uh, abetting her husband to kill people in order to support her insurance scam. Her insurance scam is very basically very simple. What she does is she and her husband take out an insurance policy in the name of from a London-based insurance company. In the story, they are currently based in Dubai. From Dubai, they take a insurance policy. Then the husband goes, as per plan, to Kerala. He catches hold and befriends a person of his own build and his own age. And ultimately, one night, one stormy night, what he does is he takes this person and he gives him a lot of alcohol to drink. And in the drunk state, he takes this person into a jungle and he burns his body to the extent that physically he will not be uh, recognizable. He burns the whole body. And then afterwards, he keeps his documents or his passport and his driving license, and he takes out his wedding ring and puts it on the dead body. This results in ultimately the death certificate being issued in the name of the husband, who is actually alive. But this husband takes this wife comes back from Dubai, takes this death certificate, and claims the insurance, saying that her husband is dead. And he died in a car accident and his body was burnt. Ultimately, what happens is that both Seema, DSP Seema, and this doctor ultimately they follow up different leads, and they ultimately come to know that this husband is actually alive and is pretending to be the driver of that lady. And ultimately, after a very convoluted uh, chase and a lot of romance and a lot of shady happenings, and ultimately both of them are arrested. So this story is basically a very simple story about the insurance scam. And this insurance scam, how the saliva, the teeth structure, the x-ray of the teeth, and the dental examination of the victim or dental examination of the husband and wife ultimately proves that the husband is not dead, and thus their criminality is proved and ultimately they are arrested. So this story highlights how forensic dentistry can help the police to solve certain types of crimes. The second book, which is the killer medicine, this killer medicine is also published by Notion Press, and I, as the author, have all the rights. I hold all the rights of this book, and now I have created an ID of Fiction Sutra and given the rights to Fiction Sutra to help in uh, towards television or towards cinematic rights of these two. This part of the book is actually about the spurious medicines, or it's about the medicines which are created in substandard way in criminal factories. Now, government and the police are all the time after such people who are doing this wrongdoing, because this is very dangerous for the people. And in some cases, if pregnant ladies take some medicines, it may even be fatal for the embryo, it may be fatal for the lady. And generally, these spurious drugs create a lot of problems in the general population. About 20 years back, WHO said that almost 25% of the drugs manufactured in India could be termed as spurious. So this was a very shocking and a real thing, and a lot of bills were passed. A lot of the administration, Federal Drug Administration in India, they tried to find out ways how to they could trace these spurious drugs. And this story is about two such people. One is the forensic dentist, and second is SP Seema. Now both have become part of the CBI. They have been hired by CBI, and Seema has become the inspector in CBI, and the doctor has become the deputy inspector. And they both chase different stories. One, they chase one dentist in Modasa in Gujarat, and ultimately his wrongdoings are exposed and he's arrested. In the second part of the story, they chase a big pharmacological magnate called as Ajit Singh Badal. Ajit Singh Badal is a criminal-minded businessman who has, on one side, the ethical factories of good medicine drugs, and on the other side, because of his greed, he hires criminal elements, and he uses the technology to manufacture spurious drugs from other companies. And in that way, he is actually defacing the companies, the other good companies, which are trying to maintain very good quality control on their drugs. And this whole criminal enterprise is then slowly unmasked by this husband and wife team of doctor and the SP SEMA. Both go, they find out the traces of how the drugs are being sold, what the drugs are doing, and all these things are shown in this story. In this story, there is also a love affair between one Maharashtrian doctor and one Kerala doctor, as they are doing research on the various aspects of the teratogenic effect. Teratogenic effect is the drugs which affect the newborn. So the teratogenic effect of one of the drugs, and how all this report helps Seema and her husband to actually take part in uh, the entire reporting system which helps to arrest Ajit Singh Badal. The last part of the story, very interestingly, goes to Australia because some of these drugs have been exported to Australia and they are being sold surreptitiously to the tribals. The case is all filed in Australia against these two people. One is an Australian and one is an Indian. The Australian's name is Max Surrey, who is a good for nothing fellow, who is a hard hard boiled criminal, and Chotu Singh Badal, who is the son of this arch villain, Ajit Singh Badal. They both are in Australia, and ultimately they are chased by the Australian police. And as they are chased by Australian police, ultimately they go into the run into the Alice Springs outbacks. Outbacks are large areas where there is no policing and there are only tribals and aboriginal cultures, and they hide out for 1 or 2 years, but ultimately the doctor and one of the agents of the tribal administration called as Alkina Long and this doctor ultimately they go and they capture these two hoodlums. Now, in this, there is a romantic twist which has been given. Actually, the doctor, when he was studying in Australia, he had a Australian girlfriend. Her name was Gloria Smith. And during one of these stories, Gloria Smith comes to India and she asks the doctor to accompany her to Taj Mahal. And as they are seeing the Taj Mahal and staying in Agra, they have a adulterous love affair, and ultimately Gloria becomes pregnant. But she never tells doctor about that, and she goes back to Australia. In the second part, the killer medicine, what happens is the SP Seema meets with an accident, and she dies. And then Gloria invites the doctor to Australia, and then ultimately he reunites with his son in Australia. So this is just a romantic interlude, and death of his wife, SP Sima is shown, and then finally the doctor goes back to Australia where he is planning to do his PhD in University of Sydney. And with this, the part two of the story finishes. So this is just a brief explanation, and these stories are worth reading. And they at end of both the stories, I have given specific references of which newspapers cuttings and which events are connected to that part of the story. But the story itself is totally fiction. No characters and nobody in the story is real. Everything is fictional. But there are very hard bound realities which reflect, and you can see that these events could be ones which gave idea to the author. Thank you very much.